on that happy note, we're pleased to introduce a brand new segment to the podcast. So for those of you that tuned in last week, you'll recall our rundown on the NFL's COVID protocols. And one of those fascinating protocols, unfortunately for Mr. Fuey, was an end to the buffet table. So to keep everybody safe and protected, all the players get pre-made, pre-packed, individualized meals. And the whole dining room experience with the buffet table and everybody joining in is no more. And that, of course, has been pretty crushing for our good mate Fuey. And collectively we're a pretty tight bunch here, and we like to be caring and sharing guys and look after each other. So we sort of thought we'd band together and have a new segment called Fuey's Buffet, just so that you could live the experience in your mind and keep the memories going. And that'll help you through these difficult times. So Fuey, this is the first episode of Fuey's Buffet.
I enjoy buffets. I wouldn't say love buffets, but it's a very reasonable way to eat out.
I enjoy buffets. I wouldn't say love buffets, but it's a very reasonable way to eat out.
The quantity of food is unlimited.
The quantity of food is unlimited.
You're in line for the buffet, and you notice in front of you is some would say a cult hero, certainly a player that you would be familiar with, John Kuhn.
Kuhn.
Very good.
So you have to do that. It's
absolutely mandatory. 3 questions. What meal does he go for on the buffet first?
Oh, do you want me to answer now? I thought
No, you can take all night if you want.
Well, probably... I will say he will go for some cheese, if we're still allowed to call it Kuhn cheese.
What you?
Are you going to edit this out, right?
I'm sorry, I'm provocative.
You're just trying to kill off the segment before it even gets legs.
I'm just thankful that Green Bay isn't in the Deep South right now.
What music's playing while he's walking up to the buffet?
Possibly something by Meatloaf.
Very good, very good. And what's his meat selections once he's had his cheese? What are the meat dishes do you think he goes for?
Oh, wow. These are really tough questions. I will say corned beef.
So he comes over and he sits down at your table with his plate full of buffet. Who else joins you? Who's in your table of 4?
Oh, a table of 4? Is this including me?
Yeah.
Okay,
like
so me.
Cool. And 2 others.
And I will say...
I would say if Meatloaf's playing and he'd do anything for love, then surely LaFleur's got to be there too. Because he definitely would do anything for love.
Well, that's 3 out of 4. Who else?
Let's say Jordan Love as well then. LaFleur and Love.
Whoa. What an outstanding buffet table. And last question, and this, of course, is the absolutely critical question of any attendance at any buffet. When Mr. Coon's finished his meal, what food does he steal on the way out from the buffet table?
I will say, does a hot coffee count?
I mean, he's not going to stuff his pants full of the muffins.
What kind
the
of
old
buffets
prep.
are you going to? You fill in your briefcase with shrimp.
Very good. I think we know who our next contestant on Fuey's Buffet will be. That was very good, Fuey. Thank you very much.
Was it?
I hope that keeps the dream alive and allows you to envisage your all-you-can-eat buffet. We'll have the segment back again soon.
Yay!
And you can go up to seconds and thirds and fourths without any problem. Nobody will bother you, providing the restaurant is still open.
Speaking of randomness, Blackie, you want to do the tea?
Oh, God, it's my favourite segment.
Do you understand it this week?
Yeah, I do understand it. It's
good.
It's cut, extend, keep.
No.
Unless you're going to
Right.
change.
So just one more time for the listeners / Brash. Trade, cut, extend. Maybe we'll start it off with Brash. Now, for this installment, I have gone the 3 teams that you each support, but you won't be doing your own team.
Okay.
So, Brasher, we'll start with you. Trade, cut, extend. Always the same. Never changes. Your 3 players are Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, or Bakhtiari. Do you need me to repeat trade, cut, extend all the players?
No. I would be. See, this is a problem because I don't need to. I want to keep Love, but I don't need to extend him, and that's not an option. So this is where you make it hard for me. This is where I get confused because I am such a simple man.
If you extend him, he still serves out his rookie contract.
All right. Okay. So that's easy then. We're cutting Rodgers. We're going to extend Love, and we're trading Rodgers. We'll cut Bakhtiari and we'll extend Love. How's that?
Just cutting all pro offensive tackle.
Hall of Famer.
Well, Blackie was very clever here because he painted me into a pretty tight corner. You got 2 future Hall of Famers,
and Bakhtiari.
two future Hall of Famers or one Hall of Famer may never be a Hall of Famer if the other Hall of Famer stays around, or at least two current or recent Pro Bowlers and a first-round pick. So let me think about who I'm going to cut out of that. Yeah, I'll trade Rodgers, cut Bakhtiari, and extend Love. I think that's my
excellent.
That's my poison.
Fuey, any thoughts on that?
Don't get personal.
Well, I'd probably trade Bakhtiari. Like I said, just good left tackles don't grow on trees.
So you'd trade him?
Yeah, I'd trade him. I changed my mind. Sorry. No, I would extend Bakhtiari. I would trade Rodgers.
Cut Love.
And cut Love.
So what is your newly extended left tackle? Who exactly is he protecting now anyway?
Well, hopefully one of our running backs will do something.
Yes, because
quarterback.
Yes, because the Green Bay Packers have had such an identity as a power running team for the last 20 years.
Eventually that's going to come to an end, let's be honest. But we've still got, Tim Boyle on the roster as well, so.
Oh, you did all right in the NFC Championship game last year without Bakhtiari there.
That's why you got to keep him. He's the stud.
Fuey, will stay with you. Your 3 are Wentz, Cox, and Jalen Hurts.
I guess I will.
It's not that hard. Come on.
Well, I'm gonna come across as some kind of quarterback hater because I would trade Wentz, cut Hurts, and extend Cox.
He's looking for a Cox extension, everybody, just to put that on the record.
Yeah, that's right. You just wanted to get that 3rd grade pun out. That's all you wanted to do.
No, I really didn't. I usually would, yes. I will admit that, but no, not this time. It just turned out that way.
So far, Blackie, according to Fuey, there's 4 free agent quarterbacks on the market now on top of all those other proven running quarterbacks out there now.
Oh, given how much he hates quarterbacks, he might actually find a job in the Green Bay front office.
And if that doesn't work out, I hear we need a second hand at the factory.
I think Fuey went to Mike Singletary's quarterback school.
And if that all falls flat, he can man the buffet down at the Eagles.
That's right.
I love my quarterbacks, but I think it's just logical to get rid of them in these situations.
As the Eagles fan in the room, you absolutely nailed it, mate. That's why I was saying it's not that hard. Fletcher Cox is still young enough that an extension absolutely justified.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wentz is probably not at the peak to trade, but he's still, of those 3, he's still the one you'd want to trade. His injury history is just too worrying to be able to rely on him for the next 12 years. And Hurts is a pick that never should have been made.
Especially before or after you traded Wentz, Hurts should never have been picked.
For what it's worth, I'm actually extremely unimpressed by his college career, and I don't think, probably could be controversial, but I think Fromm would have been a better pick until the texts were discovered, of course, or Eason. Both Eason and Fromm are far better than Hurts.
Brian Hoyer is the starting quarterback at the Patriots at the moment, so anything is possible. So
yeah, and for what it's worth, I actually think I don't see Wentz seeing out his contract in Philly. I think he'll be traded, and I think we'll be lucky to get a 5th rounder.
It's a big contract.
God.
To be honest, you blokes are acting like quarterbacks growing trees at the moment.
I know.
And perhaps they do, and they're all sitting on free agents.
I know.
Well, when you've had Hall of Fame quarterback after Hall of Fame quarterback and watch that for 25 years, you kind of get used to it after a while.
And all those Super Bowls to show for it too. So I can understand where you're coming from.
Well, the only Super Bowl we've ever won, we won with Nick Foles, which just proves we don't need a quarterback to win.
Why are you so angry, Blackie? Why are you so angry? You're trying to hurt me.
I'm extremely calm. Nothing but love.
You picked the wrong music in the buffet room, dude.
Let me rattle a couple of names off for you. Fuey, Sean Hill, Chris Winkie, JT O'Sullivan, Troy Smith, Trent Dilfer. You know who
Troy
those...
Smith was the Heisman winner, wasn't he?
I was going to say, yes, he was.
And your point is, Tim Rattay, Ken Dorsey, Cody Pickett. Did any of those names, what do those guys all have in common?
They're all quarterbacks.
Yeah. No, they were all the starting quarterbacks between the last 49ers Pro Bowl starting quarterback in Jeff Garcia in 2002 and the last one we had, which was Colin Kaepernick in 2014. So if you don't reckon there's any value in quarterbacks, I've lived that 10-year hell, okay? So trust me, Fuey, you don't want to be trading away your starting quarterbacks or the first rounder you just picked.
I ideally
Can
not
I just,
know.
Can I just, there are listeners out there right now who are not exactly feeling sorry for the 49ers fans' history of winning Super Bowls. So let's put the violins away.
Yeah, but mate, when you come to the party and you expect Meatloaf to be blaring all night, and you get some closet junk band playing instead. We have pretty high expectations. I was born into Joe Montana and Steve Young, so yeah, was I selfish or have high expectations? Absolutely, but 10 years, man, it took. I think 2 years ago was the first time that I went, and I think even Blackie made a smart ass comment on one post I made about it.
No, it doesn't sound like me.
Yeah, where I said for the first time ever, the 49ers are going into a season with an established GM, an established head coach, and an established starting quarterback for the first time in recent memory. And I think it was you that piped up and said, "Oh, no, but Garoppolo's not signed yet. He's a free agent this year." So I was like, well, yeah, rain on my parade, you little shit.
That is a very good segue into
the 49ers.
Final trade, cut, extend, which is the 49ers BPG. Your three players are the aforementioned Jimmy G, Kittle, or Bosa.
I'll preface this by saying I find it much easier to make the trade and cut decisions when they're three good players.
Oh, no.
I find it, the reasoning being, I always find it reassuring that I can keep at least one good player as opposed to having to keep one really bad player. But that's just my approach to things. So
mate, I'm going to go ring the Cleveland Browns. I'm sure there's an opening in the front office for you, mate, there somewhere.
But hey, I won a third of it.
I get to keep one.
Yeah, that's right.
What attitude? I
I'll,
want to hear this.
I'd trade Kittle.
But hang on, that's the same philosophy as if I have 15 picks in the draft, one of them's got to be good.
No,
Yeah, but
a
what
third,
if that?
a third,
Yeah,
5. Do your
yeah.
math.
Yeah, but what if one of those good ones ends up being good on someone else's roster because that's the one you cut? That's the problem.
I still get fantasy points for it, don't I? Trade Kittle because I don't think his value is going to be any higher than it is now. I'd keep Garoppolo, and cut the other guy.
Let me just take a step back.
Bosa.
Cut Bosa.
Yep.
Mate,
hang on, I haven't
just
finished.
me.
I haven't
Okay,
finished. I haven't finished because on defense, that's the strongest point for the 49ers at the moment. So of the three, in all seriousness, I'll explain my reasoning. They don't have a replacement quarterback of Garoppolo's caliber. They just don't. So he's the one of those three superstars, and they're all superstars, and obviously in an ideal world, you keep all three. But if you're in, the whole point of this game is you can only keep one. You can keep a maximum of one. So of those three names, the one that's easy enough to keep because you don't have a backup or any kind of replacement yet. You don't have the magnificence that is a Jalen Hurts sitting there on your bench. It's Garoppolo. He's the absolute cornerstone of your offense. Similarly, as I said, I don't reckon that Kittle will ever have a higher trade value than he does now. And he's trying.
I agree with that. Who do you think you'd get more picks for, Kittle or Bosa?
Kittle, specifically Kittle, because of the difference in the two. But you could argue either way. From my point of view, the difference in the picks that you would get, though, is not going to be chalk and cheese, because Bosa's role in a different defense didn't have the loaded front that if he was your number one, just your absolute number one, and that you put him somewhere like say Cleveland or Detroit, where he's clearly the most talented person on their defense, and
Myles Garrett.
We got Myles Garrett, that's a push between those two.
Yeah, but Myles Garrett is suspended and has other issues bubbling away. So and I get what you're saying, that you guys think that Bosa has higher value. For what it's worth, I don't. The way when I look at the trades of defensive players, and I mean Garrett himself, Khalil Mack, some really good examples where they just don't get the return, even when you trade with a bunch of dumbasses that overpay. I reckon you're likely to get more of an overpay for Kittle than Bosa. But that's just splitting hairs. The point for me is that the one to keep was really easy for me, and once you make that decision, it's then 50-50 about who's the better one to trade. And that depends on your view about both what you're going to get back, and I think you get more back for a George Kittle than you do for a Bosa. You don't, by the way, I don't think you would next year. I think if you were talking about this at the end of next season, Bosa would be the clear candidate, and you'd be cutting Kittle. But that's my crystal ball gazing. So
sorry, just going to say again. So which one are you trading, Bosa or Kittle?
Kittle, but that's because I think at this moment, because he's had such a stunning kind of season and a half, I think his value is at the absolute highest it's ever going to be. Same thing with Derrick Henry. We were talking about that last week at the Titans. The value that you can get back now for Henry is as high as it will ever be. And sometimes, and particularly, I mean, obviously, and I should caveat it by saying it depends which team you do wind up doing the trade with. If the Chicago Bears come knocking, well, they've already got 10 tight ends, so they're probably not going to be interested in adding somebody like Kittle, even as good as Kittle, because who wants a cricket team full of tight ends? They may well want Bosa. It's one of those ones where it's a 50-50 call. But given Blackie put me on the spot under pressure, I'll cut the defensive player, because I think generally your defensive players get a lower return.
Look, I'll throw it to Brash, but that's exactly what the purpose of picking those players was.
Yeah, and it's excuse me. I'd look at a couple of things: what it costs me to get the player, and then the two factors for me are in all these conversations, and this is why we joke with Fuey about the quarterback situation. It's one thing to expect a drop in performance going from your starter to your backup, but when you're going starter to third and fourth strings, then you're making then there's some drastic issues. Then you can't look at one player in isolation. For me, if I look at it, and it's something that I hope never happens for obvious reasons, we sort of copped it last year with Buckner being traded. He was the odd man out, surprisingly, when they had to try and re-sign everybody. I look at the differential between the starter and the backup, and I think the smallest differential on those three players is between Garoppolo and Mullen. Relative, there's no heir apparent to Kittle. No one does what Kittle does on the field. There's no one that comes close to doing what Bosa did. We were joking about the 10 years of quarterback misery. I've also endured during the same period zero player level, non-schemed quarterback pressure as well. No, we haven't had a guy since Charles Haley, right? So, that's a long time that we've had a dominant pass rusher. Oh, sorry, apologies to Alden Smith. But that's a while ago too now. So for me, it's trade Kittle, cut Garoppolo. So I think Mullins would be serviceable, if not as good looking on a GQ magazine cover. But Mullins handed the Raiders their ass year before last on a Monday Night Football game, I think. A year and a half season ago, so he can start.
It was the Raiders, dude. It was the Raiders.
If he plays the Raiders every week, he could be a playoff side.
It was still a win. A win is a win is a win is a starting quarterback. But anyway, my point is between Garoppolo and Mullins, I think the drop off is as much as to the other two. Then it comes down to the other two players, and it's a case of we gave up pick 2 overall. only a year ago for Boza, and there's no for what. Even though Boza went Defensive Rookie of the Year and an All-Pro in his first year, we are not going to get anywhere near that trade capital back for him. So he's got to stay, and he's on his rookie contract. Kittle's going to be north of $15 million. He's going to reset the market what a tight end is. In fact, his agent is trying to say
The wide receiver, isn't he?
he's a wide receiver. Combination of offensive tackle. Oh, let's go pick the second two most expensive positions on the field, right? So they're talking $20 million a year. Now, he is the heart and soul of the 49ers team, right? He is the barometer of that team. But unfortunately, he's the one that's going to have to get traded because he only costs the team a fifth-round pick 3 years ago. So they can, at least on paper, gain in draft capital on it. Whereas with Boza, they're got to recoup and fill the gap, they're going to need a top 5 pick and another first-round pick, at least for Boza, and I don't think that's coming. Whereas with Kittle, you get first-round pick in a minute, probably more.
I disagree. I think Bosa played like a top 5 end, has 4 years left under contract, including first-round option.
Which is why
I think he's getting more draft capital than Kittle, who is entering free agency by far. But that said, I would cut Kittle, trade Jimmy G, keep Bosa.
Yeah, okay. We both agree to keep Bosa. I just can't see any team giving a top 5 pick plus another pick not far behind that for Bosa because anything less than a top 5 pick, you're not even getting back what you gave up for the guy only 12 months ago, right?
But that's a sunk cost, though. I think Kittle is going to reset the market. I don't think, there's not many teams out there who are willing to pay first-round picks to pay market for someone that's going into free agency at the end of the season. I don't think true. Kittle's value is that high, but both you've got under contract for 4 more years, and he was a game changer.
Kittle, the thing, and it's not an option, but I have no doubt that the 49ers are not going to let Kittle go unless it's for. He won't walk to free agency. That's one thing that won't happen. He will see the beauty of being a tight end is the franchise tag is relatively attractive or modest.
But he'll challenge it like Leonard Williams and Jimmy Graham have done, and it'll be about where he took his snaps.
And it was as an inside blocking tight end. That's what you could argue. He didn't line up out in the Y. He wasn't out as an outside wide receiver. He lines up in the slot, and he lines up in the classic tight end spot. If they want to do the stat, because he's been on record. He's said it himself. I prefer blocking more than I do catching, right? So, that doesn't sound like a wide receiver to me. So, we're getting into. It'll be an interesting conversation. The thing I do know is he wants to stay in San Francisco. All reports are he doesn't want to go anywhere. He sees something, almost another dynasty starting there, and he wants to be part of that. And he was a 5th-round pick, and no one else gave him a chance, and blah blah blah. God, it'll be tough if he goes. But I also agree his best years would be as a 49er, not anywhere else anyway. They certainly won't get the return.
He sounds like he wants to be a big part of it, considering he wants to be 30 mil out of a 150 mil salary cap.
He won't get $30 million. There's not even quarterbacks getting that. He won't get $30 million.
Can I just address the elephant in the room on this one, though? Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, we know that I love quarterbacks, but how do we not cut him? Have to cut him in this situation.
You just want to cut every quarterback we talk about. That's what you
want. Especially Jimmy, because he's actually shit. He's not that good. He's not.
He's better than Jordan.
Yourself, Nick Mullins would give you almost as much, and Garoppolo without Kittle is nothing anyway. So just get rid of Garoppolo.
Well, I would not cry if Garoppolo wasn't there. But at the end of the day, are we heading for a league now? And particularly with some of your attitudes with who you've been cutting tonight, are we in a league now? And you got guys like a former MVP can't find a contract, can't find a team, right? You got Prescott wants what, 35, 40 million bucks a year, right? Seriously? Like, are we getting to the point now that you go find a quarterback, pick him in the first round, have him under control for 5 years, and then just jettison them after that because they're just too much? And maybe that's the counter argument that the owners are having about this. We want quarterbacks to be separate to the salary cap, right? Because it seems to me like I don't think Kansas City wins last year if Mahomes is playing on a full veteran contract, because they would have had to cut other players to accommodate that.
I think that's right, but And I think it probably is the owners driving it, but it's probably also from the perspective where they realise they're backed into a corner here, and Jerry's probably the same. You need to sign these guys because otherwise your fans are going to be up in arms because they don't understand the business side of it as much as the front office would.
Absolutely.
Say for teams like the Raiders.
Absolutely. The girls swoon for Garoppolo. They're not going to want to see Mullins out there, right? You know, and that's nothing against him. It's face of the franchise stuff, right? So, you know, and I don't think his Garoppolo is as bad as you're proclaiming him, Fuey. You know, you've already expressed a known hatred for any 49er quarterback ever.
That is not true. I like Nick Mullins.
in his one start.
Well, no, it's actually because he was a quarterback for Southern Mississippi. So anyway,
yeah. So
he's a big Troy Smith fan.
Actually, I remember Troy Smith played one game for the 49ers against Denver in London and absolutely gave you guys a hiding over there. And I think everyone thought
that never happened.
Yeah, I'll have to dig out the records. I'm pretty sure it did. So this, you know, it's just a formula now that, you know, everyone, if you got a highly prized, the only team that doesn't seem to bother too much about their quarterback is Seattle. They just don't give a shit about what happens. Another year went by. What do we do for the offensive line? Nothing. Yeah, we'll get a few more under the radar front seven players that turn into all pros. That's what they do, right? I just don't. It just seems to be a changing face of the way teams are treating quarterbacks these days.
Especially over the last few years, you either have your star quarterback or you have a defense. You don't have both, or at the moment, it's, you know, you have a star quarterback or you have nothing else.
Yeah, like you look at some of the teams that made the playoffs this year and the quarterbacking they got to get there was a bit of everything. Yeah, you had Breeze, you had from the NFC, you had Tannehill.
Speaking of, hey, I kept Tannehill last week. Thank you. I do like quarterback.
You kept Tannehill.
Let's just say that the names you were given last week were a different standard than the names we were given this week.
Yeah, the competition they were up against, his competition for that last spot wasn't that high. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thought about, you know, is it the death of the franchise quarterback? Because if they're just getting
built around them, though, it makes it hard.
They're getting, if you put it in this perspective, mate, if they miss the playoffs, every time they roll out, when we wake up on a Monday morning, mate, they earn $2 million that day, that morning.
Thanks, Black. Was there a fourth round?
No, I abstained from asking myself about Denver. I thought 3 was enough this week, but hopefully next week I'll be asked about Drew Lock, Ant and Judy or whoever else.
Oh, well, yeah, we'll work something out for you, mate. I'll owe you one there.
Have to include Von Miller in a Broncos one, so.
I will just re-sign Colin. We'll cut Garoppolo and bring back Kaepernick. Did you like him, Fuey, or what?
I couldn't stand
him. Cut him too. He's not even on a list, and Fuey's cutting him.
I'd cut him off the free agent list. That's what I'd do.
All right. He gave. I think he gave. Yeah, that's another one that gave the Packers a good old touch up in a playoff too. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, I thought we were wrapping this up.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you.